Hey guys, this is Whyt Manga here with a new video, and this is just going to be like a speed drawing of an action cover that I did for Apple Black and for Saturday AM. Kind of killing two birds at the same with one stone at the same time. This is going to be chapter 13, the cover for chapter 13 called Angel Eyes. That's just the chapter name. And it was also the Saturday AM cover for our latest issue, issue 40. So our 40th issue, which is a big deal for us. For those who don't know what Saturday AM is, I'll leave a link for you guys to go check that out. But in terms of just this video, this is kind of going to be speed drawing of me pulling everything off. Again, I'm kind of holding off on a little more detailed videos, trying to do something different when I actually get a new set of Copic markers, because I've been using the same Copic markers for almost 4 or 5 years now. I don't use it as much. I guess that's why it's still alive, but I've had to refill like 4 or 5 of them, I think. Especially the ones I use a lot, the W1s and W3s, and those are like the cool grays and things like that. Whatever. But here I'm just drawing like an action cover that kind of has some maybe a little foreshortening, and tries to be try to make the cover a little dynamic. Let it feel action oriented, very shonen styled. Boyish action, cool looking cover, and they usually have things like foreshortening in them, and they're very. I try to make them dynamic. They usually come out this way. Sometimes you have someone coming up with a cool punch and stuff like that, or they're jumping in the air and things like that. Here we have our main character for Apple Black, Sano, kind of about to inflict damage with the Erotus arm, which is his actual arm. A lot of people don't think this anymore, but initially when I first showed the character, a lot of people thought that the arm was a glove. It isn't. It's actually attached to his body. It's kind of like a wand thing, and maybe I'll make a video not really addressing anything, but just talking wands and other ideas that are within Apple Black, and kind of push the idea of the theme that I'm actually going for the series and things like that. Here in this, again, before I ramble on a little longer, just know that this video is again one of those observational tutorials. Nothing too new nothing too different from what I've done before, in the sense of we sketch it up, and then we go over it with the G pen, and then I'll color with the Copic markers. Here I try to do some. Excuse me. I try to have fun with this and try some new techniques with the Copic markers, and you'll see that in a little while. But the basic thing, going with the G pens, and then I go over it again with color and the Copic markers. And now my Copic markers are the 72B Chow markers, and I'm kind of saving up to. Originally, I want to save up and get the originals, but I hear the originals don't have that brushed edge, and I love the brushed edge. One of the cool things I like about Copic markers, you can have that painterly feel a little bit, not too much, but I always like that. So I'll probably save up and get the sketch markers instead. But when I get that, then I'll have more detailed, focused, traditional coloring tutorials, and maybe it can help a couple of you guys. So for this video, I'll probably just narrate a little bit, little things here and there that I'll do while coloring it, and yeah, we'll just go from there. Again, for those who don't know me at all, because that's very, very possible, welcome first of all. But I'm the creator of Apple Black. Apple Black, you can read the first 4 chapters free on Saturday AM. I'll leave links to everything you could possibly want or need from me to learn more about me, social media and things like that, in the description below, the about section below. And you can check out the Saturday AM website as well. Check out the other comics that are all they're on there and featured in the magazine as well. similar to like a Shonen Jump kind of thing. So yeah, y'all can go check that out. So here I'm going over the sketch with the ink and things like that. And before I go on, Apple Black Volume 1 was released last year, December 15th, and y'all can check that out. Volume 2 will be out this year, sometime this year, probably before, before the summer, or, when the summer starts around that time. So I'm thinking May-ish. Hopefully I meet the deadline and I have Volume 2 available for you guys. And we ship worldwide, so you can get that anywhere you go, unless you're in some super duper unknown country that I don't know, no one knows about. But going back into this video, going in with the G Pen, basic stuff. If any of you have actually watched any of my other videos, so just basic stuff, go over with G Pen, and I'll do all the coloring in with the Copics. Sometimes I do digital work with Manga Studio, Photoshop, but mostly Manga Studio, and sometimes a mixture of both. And even when I do traditional drawings, I still have a mixture, some digital touch-ups once I scan in. And scanning in is another thing that I know maybe some people have trouble with when they scan in their work, and maybe the black lines are not as dark as they want them to be, and in fact they come out looking gray. It's a setting in yours when you scan. Some people scan in just regular grayscale. You're actually supposed to scan in black and white or line art if you want that, comic black line crisp feel. Or if you scan in normally, then you're gonna want to increase the contrast or opacity. And maybe I'll have a video talking about scanners, how I scan my work, which scanner I actually use. I use a Mustech scanner, but I'll go into more detail on a focus thing. I've done a how to scan video before on my old channel, but I guess it's time to create something completely new. Yeah, here I'm going over with the brush and just filling in the spots, because you can kind of mess up your G Pen if you fill in the spots with the G Pen. So I'm using the brush, and with the edges I still don't use the G Pen. I then pick up a Sakura Micron, which I also use to draw in like backgrounds when I'm drawing backgrounds in the comic. When I'm creating my work, I try to do as much as I can traditionally, including backgrounds, because first off, I find that I work fastest when I work traditionally, and I think that's one of the things I like. Sometimes I can kind of be very impatient with my work, and maybe I'll work digitally if I ever get or I'll try to work digitally if I ever get like a Cintiq or things like that. So here I'm brushing in, and I'm leaving some spots. I'm leaving some of the edges, and those are kind of going to indicate that there's kind of like a highlight there on the clothing, especially on the pants. And you can see that evidently in like the hair. You can see the highlights in the hair. But yeah, I'm just gonna go in with the Sakura Micron pens. Some of you most of you actually will be familiar with this more than the G Pen. I know Mark Crilly uses this for his Brody Ghost book, which I just recently purchased. And maybe I'll talk about the book in a later video. Just being a supporter of Mark Crilly all these years, and I've picked up a couple things from him that kind of passed on to my work. So shout outs to him. So yeah, I'm going to use the Sakura Micron and fill in the edges, and I'll still even leave some spots. Then I do some cool, at least I try to implement some new techniques, coloring rather than just coloring the typical flat style with the Copic markers, which I'll get to. Again, this video is just going to be me just going over, narrating a little bit, but sometimes I'll just be quiet, like that. And once I start coloring, I'll start talking again. Oh, while we wait for the the coloring part to come up, I like to say also in 2000 this year I'll try to we're working on Saturday AM and all the other titles. We're working on getting our merchandise lines actually up and running. So watch out for an Apple Black shirt. I mean, they already exist. You can check the Saturday AM marketplace. And you can go check those out if you're interested in getting a T-shirt. But full in this year, we hope to get that fully up and running. Marketing and all that. So y'all, stay tuned for a T-shirt. For those who have purchased Apple Black at all, or any Saturday AM title, I'd like to thank you guys for the support. And I usually post images of people, taking pictures of the book. If they purchase the book and then they take a picture of the book and send it to me, I usually share those posts on my Facebook. It really brings a lot of joy to me to know that people out there have actually spent their hard-earned money to purchase my work, and I appreciate all the support. And me and everybody else at Saturday AM gonna keep busting our asses. I got the. Okay. Here a little shading for the Erota's arm. The arm's actually full on black, but I'm having that white, leaving the white in the middle of the palm, and again indicating highlights and shining of maybe not necessarily a fireball, but some kind of energy thingy is about to take place. Y'all know what I mean. So when I'm done inking, I actually erase the pencils. I get rid of the pencils. Some people actually pencil and then put a paper over the pencils and have a light box right under, and then they ink over the pencils just so they can have the pencils and have the inked copy separate, just in case maybe they make a mistake inking, and then they'll have the pencils separately and they can do whatever they want to do with that, or re-ink it, or have another person ink it and do other cool stuff with that. But I tend to just save the paper and try my hardest not to make a mistake. And if I ever do make a mistake, I end up scanning in, as I will anyways, and fix it in post. So here, putting in the eyeballs. Missed a little bit of the footage. You can see I have some yellow at the edges, and again, those are indicating highlights, the light shining like a light source from the lower left, but it's not too much because it's it's really low. You understand a whole lot better when you see the rest of the image. But here I'm going in with the Copics for the skin. I'm leaving a lot of white again because of the light source that's coming from the little energy beam thing there called for Santa. I had this cool thing where most of the moves or spells or techniques or anything like his fighting spells, like the casting of the spells, most of them start with Holy Ghost, and so he's doing Holy Ghost something. I'll leave that to whoever, whenever it does happen, you'll see it. I know in chapter 1 he does the Holy Ghost ripple, so it's kind of like a little theme going on there. But here you have a light source from the lower left, and it's a sunny yellowy kind of light source, and that's the first thing I colored in, and I just have it sitting there, and you'll see a whole lot better what I do with it moving forward. Again, it's one of those things where it's very hard to explain. It's one of those things to understand immediately, and maybe again I'll have one video completely dedicated to it, because it's difficult for me to teach you guys this stuff, at least for those who don't know it already, teach you guys this stuff in one video. So especially if I'm doing a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's one of those things where I kind of have to dedicate a video to it, so you guys can understand maybe a little better how the highlights work and how coloring works and stuff like that. And sometimes people don't do it. Maybe it may depend on your style, and maybe your style is a little more simplistic where you don't need it. But it's always good to know. It's always good to know the rules so that you can bend and break and do whatever you want. Here I'm going in with some grays. And I'm not going over the highlights too much. Maybe I might go over the edge, part of it just a little bit, but there is a part of the clothing where the highlights shine the brightest, and I try to leave those. So like for the yellows, I try to leave those yellows like as yellow as possible. For instance, part of Sano's jaw, like I don't color over it. It depends. If the light is shining really bright, then hell, it might even be brighter than that. But if it's shining really bright to the point where it's noticeable, I try not to color over it with the actual color of his skin. And the same thing applies to any other place the light shines on, whatever. So here, those are also as a result of the light coming from the eroder's arm. But you'll understand a whole lot more about that when I maybe start coloring in the arm. See a little bit of that on his neck, a little closer to his face. I'm not done coloring. It'll make more sense. And also when I'm done with the drawing as a whole, you see I'm going in with a color that's not for his skin. Generally you wouldn't think, you would think that a color like that doesn't belong there, but it has to do with, the way light shines on things, and also has to do a little bit with the shadows and blah, 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 blah. It gets really complicated. Most of this stuff I'm still picking up as I'm still learning, and really started to feel comfortable doing them just a few years in. Just a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and starting to feel really comfortable now than ever. So it's not something you can, just learn in one video, but with time, because I still, even I still have things, little things here and there to learn. But overall, I'm still happy with the piece. So yeah, coloring in things. Coloring in the hair. And when I'm done, I'll scan it in and I'll add some things in Manga Studio, which I didn't record. I'm sorry. Again, it doesn't really matter too much for this video. It's one of those things where I'm going to have videos dedicated to stuff like that. So expect a lot of videos from me in 2016 that break down a lot of stuff. But I want a lot of suggestions. I want you guys to throw a lot of suggestions at me, so there'll never be a point where I don't know what to do, what video to make, or things like that. As you can see, the shading, there's like a shading on the shirt, but I let the highlights, the yellow at the bottom left, I let it stay. It gives it gives the drawing and the coloring a little more depth, and it looks cool too. Coloring in the arm, even though it's a black arm, again, the light so bright, you know, that's like a light source on its own, the arm. So it kind of affects the rest of the arm, or the rest of the palm. It makes it look like it's a white palm, but it's not. Colors can be so deceiving. You should write that down. Get your head out the way. So yeah, almost done. You know, going in with the different shade of the same color, just making it darker. And voila. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like this video. It really helps the video and the channel a lot. I really appreciate every like. Recently, a lot of you have been liking these videos, and I've been noticing them. I really appreciate, appreciate all the work, all the effort, all the support, and the comments too. I've already gotten a lot of suggestions even from the last video. So I hope you guys keep it up. You can see there in the digital piece, I added more stuff. Again, it's one of those things that I'll devote to separate videos. So y'all should stay tuned for that. Please check out my book if you haven't already. And I really appreciate those who have purchased the book and things like that. Again, I can't thank you guys enough. And I try to keep up the work on my end as best I can. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Every subscription counts, I guess, and every subscription is appreciated. Leave comments on what you want me to do next. This is Whyt Manga, and I'm out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more.